anyone out there who doesn't love this trope, like enemies to lovers. No matter is the bookgram, like the community of book lovers, or in our community, which is BL fans and yaoi lovers, we all adore enemies to lovers. And in this video, I'm going to recommend my own top 5 enemies to lovers, and you might want to stay until the end because number 1 is not very famous, but it's absolutely my own favorite. Hi, I'm Cosplay, your yaoi guide. I'm so happy you are here today. And today we are going to discuss and I'm going to recommend one of the most famous tropes in the world, enemies to lovers, BL manhwas, my own top 5. First, I have to somehow disclaim something, which is two of these BL manhwas in this top 5 are not actually my favorite BL manhwas. Like, they are not my favorite enemies to lovers, but I did a little box in my Instagram page, which is here, also Cosplay, and I asked you to choose number 5 and number 4. They both are very famous BL manhwas, not my own favorite, so I have to say it like this. And the second important thing, what is an enemies to lovers, okay? Because it's really important that we know what it actually is. For example, some of you suggested in my Instagram page that Low Tide in Twilight can be an enemies to lovers, which cannot, okay? Because enemies to lovers means both sides, like MC and ML must both hate each other. Taiju never hated you, right? Like, Taiju was never a Yoon's enemy. So in order for us to have a good enemies to lovers, both sides must be enemies to each other, not only one. I think there were 2 or 3 of you again in my Instagram page that suggested Codename Anastasia. Again, only Takju hates Genia's guts. Genia doesn't hate Takju that much. Yes, I know Genia is a sadistic bastard, but he doesn't feel this enemyship towards Takju. So again, by the definition, like Oxford Dictionary definition, Codename Anastasia is not again an enemy to lovers, okay? Both sides must be enemies to each other. Now that I cleared that out, let's start with number 5. As I mentioned, I really don't like number 5 and number 4. Like, they are famous and huge and amazing, but not just my type. Maybe if you read it, you will love it, okay? Number 5, it's called Nerd Project. I think it just finished a week ago, okay? Like, it was ongoing until a week ago. And yes, it was enemies to lovers because the both characters really hated each other for different reasons. And I'm going to give you more details about each BL manhwa I'm going to recommend in any of my list or top 5s all throughout all of my videos. Like, Nerd Project is a student love story, like a student with a student, okay? And also another trope, nerd guy and popular guy. If you like this trope too, like a nerd guy falls in love with a popular guy, Nerd Project is your thing. And both are green flags, so you might also like that. Nerd Project is the story of a very kind and popular and extroverted guy named Luke who loses his girlfriend because his girlfriend somehow falls in love with another guy who is a very quiet, introverted nerd named Andrew, okay? So Luke somehow begins to, I don't want to say stalk, but somehow always follows Andrew to just understand what Andrew has that Luke doesn't. Why Luke's girlfriend chooses to follow after Andrew, and Andrew doesn't like Luke's girlfriend. Like, he is so detached and quiet, and like Luke already is Andrew's enemy because he's like, you stole my girlfriend, and Andrew has a previous trauma and thinks that Luke is a stalker, so they hate each other at first. But I guess you can now think and guess the rest of the story. Yes, these two meet up, somehow they become roommates. So if you also love BL manhwas with roommate stories, not only student stories but roommate stories, they become roommates, blah blah blah, and the rest. So if you think you like this kind of tropes with enemies to lovers, you can really enjoy Nerd Project. Number 4, it can be a little bit disturbing, but you know, if you like Painter of the Night, like it was one of your favorite Painter of the Night, you will really love number 4. It is called Toxin. Toxin is a historical BL manhwa. We have a black flag. Top don't say he was a red flag he's a black flag. Okay, if you read Taksin, you understand that the top was a black flag. We have a black flag top, a very gorgeous green flag, half demon, half human bottom. Like, I read this whole BL Manhwa only because I really love the bottom. Okay, and not only we have enemies to lovers in this BL Manhwa, we have the whole theme of revenge. Like, it is dark romance, it's about the revenge because the bottom really wants to kill the top, for real, not metaphorically. Like, he's plotting a revenge to destroy the top for something he did. And we have a full enemies to lovers. The story of Taksin, as I said, it's a historical BL Manhwa. It's about a very cruel king who destroys half demon humans in any villages he finds out. And we have a half demon character who is very gorgeous and he's really kind, and he doesn't have a name. Like, no one gave him a name. Like, he was abused from childhood because of, I think, his half blood demon human thing. And somehow the king, that cruel king, kills this person's mother, so he decides to enter the palace as a painter. And because he's half demon, his blood, I think, is toxic. Like, he has poison in his own blood. So every time he has sex with the king, because the king somehow forces him to have sex with him, but he also wants it because of the revenge, he slowly starts to intoxicate and enter his own poison into the king's body. So you can see enemies to lovers here. Like, they slowly feel closer and closer, but they are still enemies. Without knowing, they are starting to love each other. So that's a real enemies lovers dark romance for you. So it's all about revenge, and if you love this kind of stuff in BL Manhwas, you will enjoy Taksin. Moving on to number 3. Number 3, it's an Omegaverse, okay? And the way they are enemies in this BL Manhwa is so funny because they both have this kind of temper, and the whole story is, I feel it's more fun but also intense. It is called the Min-motion syndrome. Maybe you saw the pictures, maybe you heard about it, but it's a true enemies to lovers because it's about a really powerful Omega who forces an Alpha to be with him. They really don't like each other at first because they somehow hate everything about each other. It's not like revengeful and intense as Taksin, but it still is an enemies to lovers. We have male pregnancy in this BL Manhwa. We have a cute, adorable baby also, and we have 2 green flags who constantly fight and bicker with each other, like constantly. That makes it so funny, also intense and romantic, but so funny because even when they become lovers, they still fight, like they act like enemies. So if you want one of those light-hearted and really romantic but also funny enemies to lovers BL Manhwas, you will enjoy the Min-motion syndrome. Okay, like they are bickering all the time, even after having a baby and falling in love, they just bicker all the time. I really like that. So if you love this kind of tropes, like on top of enemies to lovers, you will enjoy the Min-motion syndrome. Number 2 is not only an amazing enemies to lover, but it's a remarkable, extraordinary BL Manhwa in general because it's by Boat. What else do you expect? Like, when Boat creates something, you can always be sure it's going to be a masterpiece. It is called Smyrna and Capri, if I'm pronouncing it right. It's an amazing, beautiful BL Manhwa, like beautiful art style, amazing story, green flag characters, and they are enemies by kingdoms. Like, they didn't choose to be enemies, like one of them, but they are from rival kingdoms. So somehow they were born to be enemies with each other. You know, one of them is a knight and the other one is, I think, an heir to another kingdom. One of them captures, like, if I remember the names right, like the Omega, it's an Omegaverse too. I forget to mention that. Like, Smyrna and Capri is also an Omegaverse, like a historical Omegaverse. But I think that the Omega is a knight called Theo. I don't remember the name of the top, like the Alpha. Like, Theo is a knight and captures the top, like the ML, the main lead, and they are from kingdoms who are rivals and enemies for centuries, and somehow they both end up falling in love with each other, protecting each other. They are both huge green flags, like green flag, national green forest, not only green flags, okay? And they fall in love with each other, they always protect each other, they always talk, there are no misunderstandings. I really love the scene when they are arguing, but they don't leave their room. They stay and argue until it's solved. It's really good. You hate angst and misunderstanding in BL Manhwas? So do I. Okay, there are no angst or misunderstanding in this Manhwa Espen and Capri. Yes, they were enemies, like enemies by blood, but when they become lovers, they always communicate, they always understand each other, they fight for each other, and it's so beautiful, and it's an Omega verse, so not going to spoil anything, but of course they are going to be babies. You will love Simon and Capri, okay? We have a huge enemies to lovers, but also a great romance, art style, and a story as general. Now, number one. Okay, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, number one is not as famous as many as BL manhwas you might know or heard of, but it's still my favorite enemies to lovers. Because enemies to lovers, forget lovers, okay? You know that meme says that are they lovers? No, they are worse. It's number one of my top 5 because they never become lovers. They jump from enemies, like enemies who want to murder each other, to daddies. Okay, like the lovers part is omitted here. It is called Eye of the Storm. Okay, I adore this BL manhwa. There are many bad news about this BL manhwa because of the author, because there were many mean and I think reckless fans who mocked the art style of this BL manhwa. I think it was really cruel because the story was amazing. This BL manhwa is so good, but somehow it's been in hiatus, I think, for months now. Like this kind of trope, like enemies to lovers, in this BL manhwa is so unique because it's really complex. They were lovers when they were like teenagers. The characters MC and ML both were teenagers, even though they were from rival families. They become enemies. Then they become parents, like daddies, and they slowly fall in love and become lovers again. So, like, it's lovers to enemies to daddies to lovers. Like, it's amazing. The story is amazing. It's not an Omega verse, but we have a cute, adorable, precious baby too. I love this BL manhwa. I cannot just emphasize how much I love it. The story is also really great. It's about 2 rival companies. Like, both are really good. We have a power bottom. I'm obsessed with the bottom in BL manhwa. What is the power bottom? Look at him. Look at him. So it's the story. It's about 2 really heated and really harsh rivals, like 2 rival companies. The most, I think, gambling companies. They hate each other's guts. Like they always try to murder each other. So imagine how much they hate each other. But you also find out that they became rivals because of an accident that happened to their families. Their families become enemies, so they had to separate and become enemies too. But they do this rivalry and the enemyship to a point that a 3rd company steps up and says that, okay, you are overdoing it, you are both becoming very dangerous, so we did a little project to bring peace to both companies, like to both of you. What they did, they secretly took genes of like both ML and MC, like both this, I think, tiger leader and dragon leader, and in laboratory they created a child out of their both genes. Like, as you can see him, like, he's so precious and adorable. And those 3rd company gives that, like, hands this child to these 2 poor enemies and says that, okay, now you have to raise him. Maybe this child who has the genes of both of you bring peace to your life. So somehow they never become lovers. They were lovers in the past, but now they are enemies. But they hate each other now, and they are enemies, but they have to raise their child, and they somehow become enemies to daddies, and they are so funny, and their story is so good. Like, they are constantly bickering and fighting, but even though they are enemies, they constantly have sex in secret. Like, it's one of those juicy, spicy enemies. And the power bottom beats the hell out of the top. I really like that. Like, he's a true power bottom. He takes no shit from the top. And top is a crybaby softie. I really love that. And also, they are both amazing parents. Not at first, because they don't really know how to raise that baby, but they become a real protective parents. So the story is so wholesome. I really hope it comes out of hiatus and the author continues with more chapters, because the ending was a total cliffhanger. Like, I remember I was so shocked, and I was so anxious by the ending before it goes into hiatus. So that was it for today's video. I hope you will really enjoy this top 5 of enemies to lovers BL manhwas. Don't forget to like this video if you liked it. Share your own opinions with me in the comment section. What is your favorite enemies to lovers BL manhwa? Also, don't forget to subscribe to Cosplay's channel. I'm uploading BL manhwa recommendations, character analysis, BL manhwa analysis twice a week. And if you like BL, if you like yaoi, you will enjoy my videos, I'm sure, and I'm happy to provide this content for you. Take care, read yaoi, and I will see you soon. Love you!